it takes a lot of courage, a huge amount of courage, and the willingness to change
Mm.
to step out of that.
I think what you mentioned at the very end there, I think that's the willingness to change. That's I think that's it seems like not everyone. Well, they probably want the change. It's just, are they willing to go through? Because it's almost like it's sometimes, and I'm sure everybody's experienced this, where you want the change, but do you want to go through the day-to-day process of working through all that, that uncomfortable um, feelings and emotions and thoughts and limiting beliefs? Um, what's when people are at that beginning part, what do you think is helpful when they're kind of aware of, like, I want this, but I know it's ahead and I don't know if I actually am willing to go there. If they're at the very beginning, what is
Okay.
help? What do
That's a good question because yeah, we all start there. Is well, I say once you're on the path, you can't get off anyways. So, um, so it's like when you're just starting out, you're on the path and you're realizing like, okay, if I keep going forward, there's going to be a lot of change and I'm going to have to go really deep and really look at things. You go into that vulnerable area and,
Yeah,
society does not support us going into the vulnerable areas and that, like emotional intimacy with ourselves or with others, even in relation. And, but you're, Okay, so if somebody's just starting out, I would say, okay, in 5 years, so take a look at where you are.
mm,
And yes, you've stepped onto the path. You know it's going to be difficult. It's going to be emotionally painful. And there's fear of change. There is with everybody. It doesn't matter what level you're at. There's at least some fear of change there.
sure.
And where are you going to be in 5 years? Do you want to be in the same place? And if nothing changes, are you going to be okay with that? Are you going to be okay 5 years, 10 years?
Mm,
We're all going to be somewhere. If we're still on this planet, we're going to be somewhere. Is that like that? If that person is just starting out, they want to ask themselves, okay, in 5 years, if nothing changes, if I don't take action, if I'm not honest and authentic with myself and doing the inner work, am I going to be okay in 5 years or 10 years
mm,
or 15 or 8 years, whatever, timeline you want to use? Am I going to be okay with that?
mm,
Because it's like if somebody wants to go back to school or go to college or get their GED or anything like that. In 5 years, if you don't do that, are you going to be okay with that?
mm,
And or if you want to start a business and but it's comfortable keeping everything the same. And in 5 years, if you don't start that, or at least put some effort towards starting that business, are you going to be okay if everything, like with yourself, if everything is just the same? I don't mean okay financially, but are you going to be okay with yourself if you're still with the same person in the same job, living in the same place, making the
mm.
same amount of money, interacting with the same people? Like, how are you going to feel about that, is what I mean.
Right.
And so that's what I would say if somebody's just starting out and they're realizing like the intensity of this path
Yeah.
to just you're going to be somewhere in 5 years. It's easy to get caught up in just a day to day and week to week and even month to month. But when you look ahead, say in let's go 10 years.
Mm,
And if you're still on this planet in 10 years, and most of us, have the opportunity to live to old age. So if you're still on the planet in 10 years and nothing's really changed, and you're in the same relationship and the same job, or your business is at the same level and everything else, emotionally, how do you feel within yourself?
mm. That's such a that's a great question. That's perfect, because that's almost like it almost seems more painful knowing when you envision yourself in the same conditions 5 to 10 years in advance. That almost seems worse than, oh, you know what? I'll work through the uncomfortable growth to get to the thing I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.